All right, welcome back in. Hang with Hester, presented by Richards Honda. Excited to welcome Will Guillory of The Athletic back to the show to talk New Orleans Pelicans. Will, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. How about you guys?
Doing well. Appreciate your time, as always, and fitting us in today. Hey, before we get to Pelicans, our theme for bumper music today is 1990s R&B and pop. So you get to pick the next song. What we got coming up next?
Oh, wow. 1990s R&B. Oh, you put me on the spot
I
there,
did. I
man.
did.
Man. God, I'm
We got a
trying
little
to think.
Usher Raymond coming up. What we got?
Oh, I could do Usher. Yeah, why not? Yeah, we could roll with Usher. I'm trying to think of people that aren't already canceled. That's the problem. It's like, yeah, the first guy that pops in my mind, he's canceled, so we can't play him.
Uh, oh,
Yeah, we could definitely roll with some Usher. I'm
Hey,
cool with
hey, I
that.
think
Anything
well, I
around
think I know
87 or
exactly
one.
who the first person who popped into your mind is. So it's okay. We'll go ahead and move on from that.
We're
Let's
just calling
talk
him he who shall not be named.
exactly. All right, let's talk a little Pels basketball. What a difference! I mean, Zion has made, and you can tell it just in tonight's. When you look at the game, you can tell by the spread. I mean, they're going to Portland, and they're 6-point favorites, right? A team that kind of has the same record as them, and we all know the players that the Portland Trailblazers have, and the Pelicans are actually favored in this basketball game. I mean, it's been a completely different team since Zion's come back.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, a big part of that is that Dame Lillard is not playing tonight, and we know how much
Right.
he's been carrying this Portland squad as of late. But you're absolutely right. It says a lot about where this Pelicans team is at, and just what type of roster they've been able to put together. With all of these young guys and Zion playing at the level he's at, and Bi is healthy now, coming off of the All Star break, and they feel like they're in position to really make a big time run here down the stretch if they can keep all of these guys healthy and start building that chemistry. And I mean, when you look at that starting five they put out there with Lonzo, Drew, Bi, Zion, and Derek Favors, they feel like that group can match up with just about anybody. And I think they're excited to really see how those guys look together and how much they can grow over these final 27 games.
Well, obviously, the All Star break, whenever that comes in NBA season, teams enjoy it because they get a rest. They get a chance to go back home, the ones that aren't playing there in All Star weekend. But I feel like this Pelicans team kind of needed it maybe more than most. And I'm talking about Zion as well because I realize he just came back. But we all know that when you come back and you have that long layoff, when you've had surgery, it's very difficult to come back as far as, okay, getting in basketball shape and what is my stamina. I mean, he's a guy that needed probably a couple days just to kind of hit reset.
Yeah, absolutely, and just get your mind right. I think getting Brandon Ingram healthy with that ankle injury, I think, was huge for them because they need his scoring, they need his presence late in fourth quarter. So I think it's going to be really important for this team just to figure out that synergy between Brandon Ingram and Zion and how those guys can work together. Because if they can get that tandem going, you talk about two guys that can put up 30 on any given night, and they're doing it in very different ways. And I think that's a really interesting piece of this. That this Pelicans team has really have a different ways to attack you now. Where early in the season they had so many perimeter players, so many guys that wanted to jack up threes, and on certain nights it was if they were making threes they were going to win it. If not, they were going to lose. But now you have that element of Zion where he can get to the rim at any time, and he's one of the biggest post-up threats in the league already at 19 years old. To have that along with shooters on the outside like Bi, like JJ Redick, it puts a lot of pressure on opposing defenses. And I think the better they figure out that tandem of Bi and Zion, the more unstoppable that offense is going to be.
Will Guillory is our guest from The Athletic, talking New Orleans Pelicans here on Hanging with Hester. Will, when you see the Pelicans not really make moves at the trade deadline, that tells me that this front office believes that this current core can win basketball games. What do you expect next year to look like? Do you expect most of the same to come back? Do you think they make some off-season moves? Because if you don't make moves at the deadline, when, yes, you're still in contention, but you're still on the outside looking in, it tells me you like where you're at right now.
Yeah, I think they really love what this group has been able to do since Zion came back. I think they really feel good about the locker room and just the way these guys are really just supporting each other and the way they've kind of been able to all mesh together. Early in the season it was kind of rough because it was so many new faces, new system. Obviously, so much of the franchise ran through Anthony Davis before, so they kind of had to find their footing. But I think everything they went through, that locker room, man, they're tight knit. All those guys enjoy being around together. And I really do believe you're right that the front office wants to build mostly off of this group that they have. Obviously, the big question mark going into the summer is how they handle the Drew Holiday situation. He's going to have basically 1 year left on his deal. Do they feel like he's a guy that they want to build going into the future? But I think that just the way he's been able to speak to the front office and speak to these young guys, I think he's made it clear that he wants to be a part of this building process with Zion. He wants to be there with these guys once they make this jump, because I think what people don't really understand is that this front office really thinks this team is going to be really good next year. Once you get a full year of Zion and then all of these guys have a better chemistry, I think they're going to the next year feeling like they could be one of the better teams in the West. And if you could bring this team back and have that chemistry going and have veterans like JJ and Drew in the building along with all of those young guys, they feel like they can match up against anybody on any given night.
All right, Will, we've only got about a minute left before our hard break, so I'll ask you one more question. More important to this team, to make the playoffs as an 8 seed or to get a better draft pick for next year, talking about next year's team?
Oh, I would say absolutely playoffs. I think, most likely they're going to be around maybe like 12, 13 if they don't make the playoffs. And, with all of the draft picks they have from the Lakers in the future, and they've got 3 first-round picks on this team already, along with Nicolo Nelly, another rookie. So I think they feel like they have enough young talent. I don't think they really feel a need to add one more 19-year-old to the mix. I think what they really want is to get those guys like Brandon Ingram, Zion, all of these young guys, Jackson Hayes, the opportunity to display on the biggest stage and really see how they match up against, the best teams in the league with the brightest lights. And obviously, if they do make it in, it'll be a matchup against the Los Angeles Lakers and Anthony Davis. That'll be a whole thing, of Zion versus AD. And, those games are going to be crazy. But I think more than anything, they just want to see what these young guys look like in a postseason environment and see how they react. And I think that tells you a lot about how you want to build your team going into the future, seeing what they look like, on the biggest stage.
I love the answer. That's exactly how I feel as well. He's Will Guillory. Does a great job covering the Pelicans for The Athletic. You can follow him on Twitter @WillGuillory. We appreciate the time as always.
Man, I appreciate you.